I'm Leslie Johnson, she, her, hers.
Tell me a little bit about your background.
Okay, I'm 84 years old. Been hanging around here a while. In 1992, because I had a gay son and Carol Linder had a gay son, we began the chapter of PFLAG in Greenville, South Carolina. And we had hoped that it would end one day, and it's still going, which makes me sad that we need it, but we do. I have 2 sons. The older one was gay, is gay, and had a partner of 24 years, which makes me really happy to think about. Tell me something about you.
I'm Susan Ward, pronouns she, her, hers. I met you for the first time 10 years ago at PFLAG Greenville. My older child had just come out. We did not know yet that he was trans, but he had come out, and I was seeing a therapist because my mom had dementia. And when I told my therapist that my child had come out, she said, you should check out PFLAG. So that very month, we came to our first PFLAG meeting. That was April of 2016. And I've been around ever since. I became president of our PFLAG chapter in 2020. And recently, we have a new president, and I'm now in charge of community relations, community outreach, and helping start new PFLAG chapters around the state. As I said, I'm the proud parent of a trans young adult now. He still lives in South Carolina, has a partner, is self-supporting, which is great when your kid graduates from college and then goes off and does the things that they're supposed to do. So Leslie, you and Carol Linder started our PFLAG chapter in Greenville in 1992. And then in 1996, take us back to 1996. What was it like when the anti-gay resolution was passed by County Council?
It devastated me. I could not believe that all those human beings could do that. I really didn't. And of course, there were numerous county council meetings about it, more than one. And lots and lots of people showing up. And there were a lot of tears when they passed it, because they were telling us that people like my son and my son were no longer really wanted in Greenville County because they didn't fit the definition of family values. So it was horrible. Tons and tons of people came. Lots and lots of people spoke. There were several people, of course, on county council that did not vote for the resolution. But it was a horrible time. And you would be seated beside somebody who wanted the resolution. When it was passed, we went outside, and there was a glorious rainbow in the sky, which helped us get through it a little bit more. I mean, it was almost like, no, it's not that bad. It's okay. But it was a horrible time. And like I said, it devastated me. I cried buckets.
What did it feel like as the parent of an LGBTQ plus child to hear your city say that your family didn't belong?
It was horrible. But it also galvanized us, I think, a little bit. We were out totally starting the PFLAG chapter in Greenville. We were out in the newspaper, a picture of Carol, her daughter, her husband, and her gay son, my gay son, and me, and a write-up about what we were doing. And so, and our phone numbers were out there. So we weren't hiding from anything, but to have a group of people tell you you don't belong, because if my son doesn't belong, I can assure you I didn't belong either. It galvanized us to continue trying to educate about LGBTQ plus people. And we got to speak at a lot of places over the years. So although it was a horrible time, and still it was horrifying to find out that the thing was still out there for everybody to read, because the county council said the next election it would disappear. That's what a resolution is supposed to do, supposedly, but that is not what happened. And in 2020, I think somebody from Upstate Pride discovered that it was still there for anybody to read. And that's kind of horrifying. So with a lot of to-do, I might say, and lots of people showing up, it got done away with then.
When we started going to county council in 2020, when it was discovered that the resolution was still on the books, that was the first time I ever went to a county council meeting. That was the very beginning of my advocacy, standing up and speaking and showing up at meetings. That was the beginning for me. So
you got galvanized by that.
I did.
Yeah. Well, I can see that you can look back at the history of that resolution and realize how devastating it was, and still is to think about. Since you are former president of Greenville's PFLAG, how do you think advocacy changed since that resolution that we're talking about? And the fact that it was finally removed in 2020. Did that moment feel like a victory or just one more small step?
At the time, it felt like, I'm going to say, a small victory. I'll combine your two options into one. It did feel like we had helped make something happen by showing up, by bringing people together, by getting involved, recognizing that the county council is there to serve our community. They're there to represent us. And when they're not doing a good job of it, it's important that we step up and say so. So it was a beginning. There have been other things that have come up since, obviously. And I think learning from those county council meetings in 2020 prepared me for when our county library board began to pass policies that discriminate against our community and our kids. And when they started making policies to move books that recognize the existence of trans kids or any kind of gender diversity, when they moved all of those books into the adult section of the library, that was really painful for me. And because it's so important, my child is not trans because he read books about trans kids when he was growing up. We didn't have any books about trans kids when he was growing up. And that is not that's not where that comes from. And so to hear those people, the county council has appointed the library board, and for them to sit there and say, I mean, I sat through so many meetings, and they're saying just terrible things. There's so much misunderstanding, willful ignorance.
And meanness.
And so having the 2020 experience of going to those county council meetings and recognizing that we had power and that I was not afraid to stand up and speak, which is a blessing.
Carol Linder and I promised each other when we started the group that we would never shut up. And that is, you are continuing our never shut up.
I appreciate you laying that foundation. That has been, and I recognize that is not everyone's role.
Right. It's not. We all have some different things to do to help our community. Not everybody's going to be able to be in the newspaper, for instance. That's fine, or on TV.
Yeah. So
Carol and I were on TV a couple of times.
I was too at the beginning of all of that library stuff. And it's not over. We're still in this struggle with the library board, trying to get to the point where people who will benefit from access to those books have access to those books. It's not just our kids. It's not just kids in the community. It's important for kids in straight families to be able to read about other kinds of families.
Exactly.
It's so important to get that window of insight into how someone lives differently from you. And I'm grateful to be able to participate in that advocacy. I'm really fired up about it.
Good. We want you fired up. I've seen you fired up before.
From your perspective, Leslie, as someone who has been advocating for young people in South Carolina for decades, what opportunities do you think still remain for our communities to rally around the LGBTQ plus youth?
We've got so many organizations now that are LGBTQ plus, which there were maybe two gay bars is all that existed, I think, in the very beginning, other than the MCC Church, which was a church specifically started by a gay man. And I went to it for a long time, too. That was really all there was. And now we've got numerous things, including a Chamber of Commerce, for goodness sake. Isn't that fabulous? And so there are lots of I don't see and feel from gay people the pain and horror that they were having to live in 1992. I don't see that. I see it for trans now because of what people are trying to do, which is legislate them into non-existence. It's kind of crazy. I mean, I feel like these people must be a little crazy to do that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why? Other than, obviously, the political aspect of we've got to latch on to something to keep our base happy somehow. But I just feel like that the opportunities abound if they want to be involved in their community specifically because of so many organizations. How many organizations do we have? You know that.
Not by count, but yes, there's in the Upstate, we've got the Upstate Queer Leadership Coalition that brings in leaders of all of those groups, and that's at least 10.
So
yes.
Yeah.
So
the gay community, the LGBTQ plus community has, we just have resources we didn't have before, and we are damn lucky.
We do, and we have people who are working hard to keep everyone networked together, make sure that we're not working at cross purposes.
What have you seen on the ground in recent years regarding youth mental health? What are you hearing from parents about what they need?
So we have, as you know, our PFLAG chapter in Greenville has 2 support meetings a month. One of them is for everyone, LGBTQ plus people, their families, allies. And the other one is for people who have a transgender or non-binary or gender expansive family member. We started that group because there was such a need for it. As you said, when you started PFLAG, it was mostly parents of gay kids.
No,
and even when
it was mostly gay kids. The parents were in a deep closet.
Oh, wow, okay.
It started with, mostly. Now, Margie and Larry Candler came to the second meeting and continued to be totally supportive of what was going on because they have 3 gay kids. But it was mostly the gay people a lot of a lot of gay men, or boys, I should say, young men. The parents slowly came, and now we have a total mixture of everybody.
So when I first came 10 years ago, it was mostly parents
Right.
of gay kids.
And the gay people had managed to get to a point that they didn't need to come. Yeah.
So there was one family at our first meeting, and I believe it might have been their first meeting too. There was one family who had a young transgender child in 2016 when my son and I came to that first meeting. And other than that, everyone, pretty much all the parents had gay kids. So it was just the beginning of people in the community who had trans kids. There were more of them, more kids were coming out, and more parents were looking for help. And in those, well, really even within the first 5 years that I attended PFLAG, that it was almost a total turnover. Virtually everyone, almost everyone who comes to us now seeking support
is connected
to the transgender community in some way. Not everyone. There are still parents. We live in the South. There are still parents who are freaked out that their kid has come out as gay. That's not over, and we still do help those folks. But we have such a community, and it has been wonderful to be able to walk that path with other people ahead and behind, that I have people I can look to, and that I have people that I can tell, I've been through this part of it, it's going to be okay. And so that kind of support has been really important to me. There have been 2 times in my life when something happened and I really needed a supportive community. And the first one was when we lost our son, Raider, to suicide. And that's been almost 9 years ago now. And I needed somebody who knew what that was like. And I had a friend who connected me with a local parent in Greenville who had lost a daughter to suicide a couple of years earlier. She came over to my house and we went for a walk in my neighborhood in those first couple of days when I was just in such a fog. And I feel like that was it's a strong term. It was life affirming for me to have somebody step up and walk with me. When my son came out as trans, it was not the same. It was not a tragedy, so it was not the same. But I still needed support. Yeah. I needed parents who had walked before me to tell me that it was going to be okay. And this was 6 months after we lost Raider, our surviving son, when he came out to us as trans. And I had been, one of the ways that I was coping with having lost a child to suicide was trying to learn lots of things about suicide and suicide prevention. And that, of course, I was very familiar with the statistics of suicide in the LGBTQ plus youth community.
It's better than it was in '92, but it's still way too much.
So that was terrifying. It was terrifying knowing that the risk was so much higher, not because there's any sort of mental health issue with people who are part of the LGBTQ community, but because of the bigotry, the pressure, the non-acceptance, the kinds of things that the library board is doing publicly and our state legislature is doing publicly
And some
the
religions
things
are
they
doing
say,
publicly.
the things they say, the policies and laws and bills that they pass. And so having a child come out as transgender after spending the previous 6 months learning about suicide risk and what communities are at greater risk and what we can do and how we can help, that was a very scary time for me to process what that means for my child and my family, and how are we going to stay safe?
Safe. One of the things that I remember in my past, I went to the 1993 March on Washington, and I had gone up to the restroom and was standing outside waiting on some other people, and a young man said to me, and I was like in my early 50s, gray hair. He says, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I have a gay son." He said, "I didn't know gay people had parents." That tells you a lot right there. That's part of what's wrong, and that's why we lose children to suicide. If our parents cannot learn who we are so that we don't have to suffer like that. I don't know how you can't make people do anything. That's the frustrating part. And a lot of people don't understand what love is either. And they think love is putting them in the street until they straighten up and not be who they tell you they are. But that young man horrified me when he said that, but I realized how true it was, because if we as parents had stood up for our children from the very beginning, they would not be treated like they are now. But we didn't. We were afraid, we were ashamed if we were thinking about only ourselves. When my child came out to me at 16, I already knew, but I didn't want to know. I mean, you know, but you don't want to know, because you don't know what to do with it in 1992. And when he came out, all I could think about is, I don't want anybody to know this because it's something bad about me. Me, instead of him, and what's going on with him. It took me forever to get to him because I had to worry about what somebody would think about me. I knew I had to have caused it. How else could he be gay, right? No. It took me a long time. He was very patient, but I dare say that if we as parents could just get with our children who are, regardless of who they are, that makes a big difference. When you are 84 years old and used to, it's this, 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 and this, and now they've changed it all. It used to be GLBT, now it's LGBT. And so you have to get used to just that little thing, much less everything else that you have to get used to. There are a lot of changes, a lot of things that go on just in a meeting that are kind of different from the way it used to be. I have to just flow. And I'm lucky that I'm involved in a lot of things that help me flow. I may not flow as well as we would like me to sometimes, but basically I think I do flow.
So intergenerational unity, what that makes me think about, firstly, since we've been talking about PFLAG, is when I first came to PFLAG, there were parents of your generation.
Right.
who were there. And what was especially helpful was hearing y'all share not only your victory stories, it's good to know that we can get to a good place, but hearing you share your mistakes that you had made. Because it does a couple of things. It lets us know that if we make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. And it lets us know that we have so many commonalities with each other. And so it was very inspiring to me.
That's the whole thing right there. We're family. We are family because of our children. So regardless of how old or whatever, we relate to each other
Yes.
beautifully and love each other, which is just fabulous to me that we have that.
I agree. Thank you for having this conversation with me, Leslie. It's always a pleasure to sit down with you. We don't get to do this often enough. So
Well,
thank you.
It's too bad they couldn't have shared a lot of the conversation we had on the way down here.